there, Meekachii here. So I'm finally going to be doing a wrap-up video. It's only been, like 3 months. The last one I did was in August. I know it's like really bad, but I figured I would just call this one a fall wrap-up because technically I need to wrap up all of the months in fall, literally. So it works out great. So this is all I read in those 3 months. I have a couple of ebooks also to add to that. I think it's a total of 17 books, which I know some people read in 1 month, but, I'm busy. So let's just get started. My first one, everyone knows, God's Grave by J. Kristoff. One of my favorite books / series of the year. I was lucky enough to get an arc of this one. I actually bought technically 3 copies of this book because I gave one to my sister for her birthday, but I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5. It is really different than the first one. It follows some different characters. It's a different setting, but it's not any worse. That sounds bad because the first one was fantastic. It doesn't make it worse because of that. I still loved it just as much. It did take me a little bit to get into it because I didn't know it was going to be completely different, but it doesn't matter. In the end, it ended up being amazing, and I totally recommend the series if you guys haven't picked it up.
Dude, you and your burping, it's so gross.
So, also, just to mention, side note, this is part of a book haul I'm going to be doing, and I also have 2 more book hauls coming up. I'm going to split them all so I don't have another massive one, even though I know some people like that, some people don't. So we're going to try it this way. I have a birthday book haul because my birthday was last month, and I have a book outlet book haul because they just did their big Black Friday sale. So those are going to be coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Alright, back to the thingy. The next book I ended up finishing was Blue Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. So the 3rd and 4th one, I gave this series a 4 out of 5 collectively. I really liked it. The characters are fantastic. Like, the writing style is great. She's a great writer, but just something about, like, the magic kind of isn't for me. This one, I feel like the first half of the book just, like, it could have been, you could have not had it. It was just totally boring to me. Like, the second half was fantastic, but the first half I could have completely gone without. I feel it was like, pointless. I know a lot of people are probably going to hate me for saying this, but overall, because the development, the characters, and everything like that were so great, I did end up giving it a 4 out of 5, but there were some things that just weren't for me, which is what brought the rating down a bit. Then I read an e-arc copy of Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. Now, all of these books, I'm not going to go into extreme detail because there's so many, so you can check my Goodreads out if you want my, like, full review. But that book, I did not like it. I think I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5, and the only reason I gave it a 2 out of 5 is because, like, I finished it, and it kept me intrigued enough to, like, get to the end, but it was just, like, I don't know. I didn't read We Were Liars, and I know that's, like, a really famous one that that author wrote. I do still plan on reading it. It didn't kill my want to read that, but yeah, it's basically told backwards, so you start at the end of the story, and then it, like, goes down to the beginning, and then you get the ending again, and it just wasn't for me because I feel like it gave way too much away. I wasn't, like, blown away by any parts of it. Nothing really surprised me, and it was just really boring to me. I just didn't really like it, so I give it a 2 out of 5. So then I picked up One Dark Throne by Kendar Blake. I did receive a ARC copy of this too. I can't talk today. Something's wrong with me. I was kind of iffy because I liked the first book, but I didn't really love it. The ending kept me wanting more. This one I liked significantly better than the first one. I feel like the characters were better developed. The story was better developed. Like, I just cared more about the story in general. Again, the ending left me wanting more. I have one issue with this book, and I don't really want to say it aloud. So if you want to know my opinion, send me a comment or a what do you call it? A direct message or something. But yeah, I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5. I really liked it, and I'm definitely going to pick up the next one. Then I picked up Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. This is an ARC copy. I ended up liking it to the point where I bought the physical copy, and I don't know where it is, but I have it. I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5. I liked it, I would say, a significant amount better than the first one. I did enjoy the first one, but this one, I just, like, really couldn't put it down. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I just thought the premise behind it was cool. The whole looking for a person, like, trying to be a vampire, and she's in the setting of Romania, and it was just really well done. It is a continuance of the story, so if you haven't read the first one, you really should before you read this one. But yeah, I really recommend this series. Like I said, I do like this one better, but the first one was pretty good too. Then I read The Fire King. I was going to say The Fire King. The Fire Queen by Emily King. This is the second one to the 100th Queen series, and I ended up really enjoying this one. I was kind of leery at first because they start this whole competition thing again, and I'm getting really sick and tired of all these YA books doing competitions and to get to, like, the top, and I don't know, it's getting a little overdone in my opinion. Thank goodness, even though the first book did have that, I thought this one was going to have that, but it was different. I don't want to give too much away, but it wasn't as, like, cheesy as I'm making it sound. Thank goodness. It's in a different setting. It is a continuation of the story of the first one. And I really did like this. I really want to read the next one. It doesn't come out too far from now. I want to say early next year, so I don't have to wait too long. But I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. Then, along with a ton of people, I read Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. I really can't talk today. I didn't even write a full review on this. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads because they don't have half stars, but I would probably say I'd give this a 4.5 out of 5. It was probably my second favorite book in her Throne of Glass series. I'd say my first one is still, I think it's called Queen of Shadows, the fourth one. And then I'd say this is probably my second favorite. I know a lot of people hated Kayal going into this, and I didn't really hate or like him. I just kind of felt neutral. I ended up really enjoying him and Irene as characters, and I really didn't. Now, another character I really didn't care about was Nesrin, and I really liked her a lot better by the end of this book as well. So, I mean, definitely a good one in this series, and I hear that it was supposed to be a separate novella, but now you really should read it before you go on to the next book. So, yeah, definitely pick it up. Oh, yeah, look, it is Queen of Shadows. They tell you right on the back. Then I picked up another ebook. It was The Goblins of Bellwater by Molly Ringle. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was okay. I feel like it could have been so cool. Basically, goblins live amongst us, and we don't really know they're there. Certain people can kind of, like, sense them. Not really sense them, but they kind of know something's there, and it's usually children between certain ages. And you can essentially be captured and turned into a goblin yourself. They have protectors and things like that. The whole premise is really cool. The execution wasn't so much for me. I feel like the little magical rules that the author came up with for, like, if you're turning into a goblin, certain things that happen to you and why they happen, they just don't make sense. They were kind of just out there for me. I wish she had come up with something different because they just kind of ruined the story for me because it just did not flow well. And the way it was written was pretty good. I felt like the first part was really good, the middle was kind of and then the ending was pretty good. So a 3 out of 5, I feel like it's a pretty fair rating for that book. Then I ended up reading Wild Beauty by, who is this by again? Mecklemore. I don't have the first name here because this is just an ARC copy I was given. I did receive a final copy in an Owl Crate box, which is going to be part of our end of the year giveaway, so check that out if you guys are interested in reading this. I did not like this book at all, but I hear that so many people love it. I literally feel like I'm the only person that doesn't like this book because every video I see, people love this book. I was super bored by it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. It just bored the crap out of me. I don't know what else to say. Like, I just couldn't wait for it to end. I almost DNF'd it. I just did not care about the characters. I didn't care about the magic. I didn't care about the history, the story, nothing. It just bored me. There's too much talk about flowers and all that nonsense, and I will never read it again. Then I was given a finalized copy of The Invisible Life of Eurydice Gusmao, by Martha Batala. I don't know. She's a Portuguese writer, or a Brazilian writer, I believe. This book is set in or near Rio. Can't remember now, but it's essentially about this woman who has many talents and is very smart, but she's stuck in the era, I think, like the 60s-ish. Nope, I was wrong. 40s. Where women really didn't have a say. They couldn't do anything that they wanted. They were pretty much just housewives, and they took care of the family and the husband, and that was their job. And so it's about a woman kind of stuck in that era, but she was so smart and independent and talented at so many things that it really, like, you got to see how it, like, crushed her. I feel like the writing was really, really good in this book. Like, I just feel like the plot wasn't really there. If you want a book that's just really in-depth, like, as far as characters and stories, like, little mini-stories about characters' lives, it has a lot to do with, like, random character developments, it was awesome. I mean, the stories were interesting, the writing was good. Not all of it is about Eurydice, so it kind of threw me off a bit, but it was written well, and it's kind of almost feels like a gossipy tale to me, if that makes sense, even though it's not really gossip. It's just you're learning a little bit about a bunch of people. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, so it was good. I don't know if I'll ever read it again, but yeah. Do you like character development? You'll probably like it.
I did it like you. No, you go.
Yeah. Then I ended up picking up The Girl Who Ignored Ghosts and The Girl Who Saved Ghosts by Casey Tansley. I bought this one, and then the author contacted me and asked me if I wanted an art copy of this one. So, you know, of course I said yes. This one I ended up giving a 3.5 out of 5. It's essentially about a girl who can see ghosts her whole life, and she tries to ignore them to live pretty much a normal life. There is a reason why she ignores them, and I don't want to go into detail because I'm like in spoiler territory. Then something happens where she kind of has to embrace this and just kind of, I don't know how to explain it without ruining stuff. It was pretty good. Like I said, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. This one in particular, I feel like I didn't know what was going to happen. There is time travel aspect to it, and I didn't know that. I felt that maybe the time travel aspect went a little too long in the book, and I also feel like there were too many characters that they didn't explain enough about, so I got kind of confused at times with the characters. But then I got into this book. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5, so I did like it slightly better. This one also has some time travel aspect to it, but it's not as long or in-depth as this one. I feel like the time travel was actually better in this book. The character development was definitely better in this book, and the overall story, they explained a lot more. Just in general, better to me than the first one. I mean, it's a really cute YA ghostly story. Then I picked up Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie Dow, which is essentially... I hear it's a Sleeping Beauty? No, hold on. Snow White kind of retelling, but in, like, Asia. I don't know. I don't remember, like, exactly. Well, it's a fake world, so it's just an Asian type feel. Looks like I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. I ended up really enjoying it. The story flowed well to me. I really enjoyed the characters. Like, even though a lot of them weren't really, like, lovable at all times, they were well written. The story was written very well. I definitely want to know what happens later on. So if you want kind of like a fairy tale retelling / not really retelling, but cool story, I definitely recommend this one. Then I randomly picked up Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I hear that he's a really good author, and like a lot of people like his other stuff. I've never heard of him before this, but essentially this book is written in verse. So it's very, like a very fast-paced read. I literally read it in one sitting. It follows Will's story from the top floor of his apartment building to the bottom. And this isn't really spoiling, it tells you like right in the beginning. But essentially his brother is killed. He goes through like a series of, I don't know, I can't spoil this, never mind. I don't really want to tell you guys too much about this story, but it's basically self-reflection from the top floor of his building to the bottom floor and why he's going down there and has to do with his brother getting killed. And yeah, it's a super short, easy read, so I definitely recommend it. What did I give it? I gave it a 4 out of 5. So then I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I know I'm like super late on the bandwagon with this one because it's been out forever. I ended up giving this, I believe, a 4.5 out of 5. No, I lied. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I must have really enjoyed it when I was done reading it. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought the characters were fantastic. The world is great. I have not read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which I probably should have before reading this duology because it's set in that universe. That being said, though, I feel like it's written in a way where you don't really have to read those. I know it's different characters and things like that, so I'm not really having a hard time with it. And the fact that, you know, there are maps and things. Oh, look. Nope, this is the same picture. But yeah, because there are maps and things, I find it's like not very hard to understand what's going on, and enough is explained where you don't have to read the other ones first. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I do feel like it did take a little while for them to get to the actual heist part of this, but it was still written really well, and the character development was good enough where I cared about them and I wanted to know more about them, so it wasn't really boring to me. And yeah, I think this is one where the vast majority of people are correct in saying that it is a pretty good book. Then I picked up, I have an ARC copy of The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. So the story is about 3 girls, all completely different backgrounds, who band together, and because this girl that used to live in the town got raped and no one believed her, this new girl that comes to town hears about this story and she's totally flabbergasted that any of this ever happened and that this girl just like left town and that no one believed her and she just couldn't believe this all happened. So they band together and they create this like movement in their high school called the Nowhere Girls, where it's basically just like an anti-rape movement, and they're essentially telling the guys that they're not going to do anything with them until the guys come forward and admit to what they did, type of deal. I feel like the premise was really cool. It does touch on a lot of really hard topics, obviously, rape, things like that. But the issue I had with this book is I feel like the character writing wasn't very realistic, in my opinion. Like, for instance, there's one girl with Asperger's, and even though I'm not an expert in that, I don't feel like it was written well. It's almost like the author tried to overdo it and say, like, so essentially in this girl's mind, she's like, oh, I'm doing this because of this, and I'm doing that because of that. And it's like, no, people don't think like that. They just do things the way they do it, and that's just the way it is. I feel like she tried to way overcomplicate it and just explain too much, but it was all supposed to be in the perspective of that character, so it just came out awkward to me. And the fact that it was one of the main 3 characters really just irked me. But yeah, I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5, I believe. Let me check. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a terrible story. It wasn't overly fantastic. I felt like it was good. It was decent. I wanted to read to the end to find out what was going to happen. Kind of predictable, but it was alright. That is it for the books that I actually finished this month. I'm working on these 2 books right now. This book is This Mortal Coil by Emily Suvada. I have a video up about a book club that I'm going to start doing. The first one, let me look up the date right quick. So the first meeting for the book club, essentially, it's going to be a live stream, and you can type in, you know, we can all talk together about this book. It's going to be December 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But essentially, we voted and we chose this book to read about a girl who can hack genes, and basically it's a world where you can change your genetic structure essentially to do all sorts of things. I'm a little over halfway and I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't know what I'm gonna rate it. It all depends on the ending. But yeah, this is the one I'm working on for that book club. And then obviously I picked up Crooked Kingdom. My bookmark is not in the right spot for this. I'm listening to the audiobook for this one, so I'm not really sure how far along I am. But yeah, I'm liking this one. As of right now, I'm not liking it as much as Six of Crows, but I hear that people like this one better. So I'm wondering if some crazy stuff happens later on that makes this book, like, shoot through the roof. But we'll find out. I don't know. I'm liking it, but I'm not liking it as much as Six of Crows, so we'll see. So that is it for my wrap-up. Let me know down below if you guys read any of these books and what you thought of them. Leave me a comment also if you guys are planning on becoming part of the book club and showing up for the live stream, and if you guys are reading the book or have read it or where you are in it. But yeah, I will try to make these more regular now, do a monthly one so they're not so long. And yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. Hit that little bell next to the subscribe button to be notified when we come out with new videos. And I will see you next time.